fear of failure, force of habit. The one I think is the big one, for me at least, is that vision. And vision is more than a goal. It is an aspiration, these are your words, that becomes inspirational. It must be clear enough to describe exactly what you want to achieve in such a way that others can appreciate it and support it. And it is funny, when you're the person, no matter, like you said, you can explain me better than I can explain me, and I probably could explain you better than you can explain you. But that is still, it's paramount. It's almost the theme that runs through that whole book is that clarity of vision.
And isn't it the most difficult thing to say, just let it go and be whatever you want it to be, if you had nothing to hold you back? But the sad thing, I think, is for a lot of us is we don't think we can, so we limit our vision.
Well, you say even, force a conclusion. Am I right? Force one upon yourself if you have to.
Yes, you got to take action. That you just can't just daydream. You have to kind of take that first step. And I think I tell stories in the book about if you start putting something in motion, something will happen to get you there. It's not my law, it's the universe somehow gives you what you want.
You have a chapter called Stuck in Neutral, and I think I'm going to read a few of the words because I think, again, that's one of the keys is one of the most difficult situations is to be in is when you know that what is not right or working, and what you want to do, something different or better, can't seem to make the leap. So there is this leap that you have to make. There is, you call it faith at one time, but you have to make some sort of either adjustment, attitudinally, I joked with my other guest, some sort of inner cosmic fluctuation that might be able to shift you, because if you don't, you can't get to that level of appreciation, can you?
Yeah, and I think the other thing that is important too is that you have to have other people believe in your leap as well. And you have to recruit some kind of culture that helps you support your vision. And in business, it's real easy because you have to have the team kind of make the product that you want to make. But individually, you have family and friends. And if you say, I want to be a professional baseball player, if they don't believe it, that's going to hold you back. But if you can find people that see your vision, that you can explain it to, and they say, of course you can do that, you got a much better chance of getting there.
This show only exists because of my wife. Because I did not want to go on at one point, but she insisted upon it. And now, between my wife and son, they supply me almost on a daily basis just with that. And at the same time, you give us advice to not share with them all your angst and all your problems. What do you say? It's one of the biggest waste of times for both people, because that's what the essence of their roles is for you to share when it's not working, as well as the insights when it is, and then let them, like you say, tell you shouldn't be a ball player or you need to go in that direction. You can't be afraid of that, and so many of us, we're taught to be that rugged individual that just doesn't let those things out.
I think that's especially true with men, who are supposed to be, leading the household and making the money and doing things. And you're going to set up in a role, and it's a big one, and it lasts a lifetime. And it's hard sometimes to dismantle that training that you get by the culture that we live in.
You tell us about worry, because unfortunately, sometimes when we're stuck in neutral, what happens is we begin to worry, and I've done enough of this to know how wrong that is, and yet how difficult it is to put a stop to it. Right. So as I joke, I say the best I can do is just keep narrowing that gap so that the worry takes up only this much, and that other feeling of gratefulness takes up as much space as possible. But it's impossible to eliminate.
I think it is impossible, but you just said it right. If you could just kind of leap some gratefulness on top of it and some awareness of just the present, because worry is almost all the time about something that you can't control, and it's going to happen anyway. And a lot of times it just doesn't happen at all. And I think I might have said in the book, it's a terrible waste of imagination.
Well, you know, those are the exact words you said in the book, by the way. You know, it's something interesting. And this book is really not a Zen book, Z-E-N book, because on a certain level, it is really not about the journey. In other words, you appreciate the journey as you go through it, but because of what you do for a living, and have to force conclusions, you really have to stay focused on the vision, on the goal, and let the how stuff follow what you're focused on. I thought that was a unique way of looking at it, rather than sitting there trying to figure out how you're going to do it, how you're going to do it, how you're going to do it. Focus on the vision, the vision, the vision, and let the how come along. I want you to really get into that, because I think that's a hard thing. People are always fighting. What should I do next? I'm always fighting.
Right.
What should I do next? Where do I have to go? What do I have to do? While my vision sits out there fairly clearly, I have to figure out how to do that. How do you balance that?
You know, that's a good question, and it's different for everybody. But if you were to take, if you really could identify your vision and just clearly say, I want to accomplish this, and it's as I describe it, kind of a broad, inspirational way to describe it, it would be, for me, for example, is to help share with people how to get through change. Because what I do for a living is all about helping companies go through transition. And I would say, in order to get there, oftentimes you limit yourself by, how am I going to get there? That's the next question that comes out of your mouth. Well, what happens is, as soon as you start to look at the hows, they all pop up everywhere, all the objections to why you shouldn't have your vision realized. And then you just get stuck doing it. So if you can kind of push that down and look ahead a little bit, take that first step or second step in that direction, let everything just kind of happen naturally.
You also, and if things go wrong, you say, mourn the loss, mourn the failure, but then look at the opportunity that's around the corner, because every door that closes here, another one opens there, and we forget that. So you want to keep that, again, that mourning to, again, the shortest minimum, and that opportunity opening up to its largest expanse.
Right. And as you were saying that, I just flashed on 1,000 different examples of how the door has been closed on me, or on people that I know, and how you could sit there and just say, oh my gosh, I can't go any further, but there's no point in that, and you're supposed to go further. And if you just kind of reach around, and there's going to be another knob that'll open, or it's already swinging open for you. And when you're stuck in the past, worrying about what already caused you some angst or pain, you don't see the door opening, and you miss it. Not my law, incidentally. It's kind of a universal
It's the law of the universe, and my wife. I want to say this, yeah, because I'll tell you something. I wrote this down, and you just met my wife for the first time. So even though I know you a long time, you only met my wife for the first time. But she says your words. So I'm quoting you both because they're identical, okay? Just because it hasn't happened the way you'd like it doesn't mean that it won't, and it doesn't mean you should give up. So that's what keeps me going all the time, and that's what you say has to keep us all going all the time. Just because something hasn't happened, what possible law of physics says it won't?
It's true, and maybe it never will, but maybe something better will happen.